Welcome to the deep dive.
Hello.
For this particular dive, we're taking a stack of sources, recent reports, news accounts, official statements. Our mission, help you cut through the noise, really get to the essential details.
Right, to understand a deeply concerning event that's shaken Minnesota and, well, the whole country, frankly.
Exactly. This isn't about just skimming headlines.
No, definitely not. We're looking at the info gathered from, various sources to understand the sequence of events, who was involved.
The context the sources provide.
Yeah, and what the broader implications might be based just on the material we have in front of us.
Okay. So we're diving deep into just a shocking act of political violence involving state lawmakers right here in Minnesota.
That's the focus.
So let's start with the incident itself. What do the sources tell us actually happened? Where and when?
Okay, the material points to Friday, June 13th, 2025. The time noted is approximately 3:45 p.m. Central Daylight Time.
Yeah, setting.
The Edinburgh, USA Golf Course. That's in Brooklyn Park, specifically near the border with Champlin.
Got it. And the individuals targeted, the sources are clear on this.
Very clear. State Senator John Hoffman, DFL, from Champlin. He was 59. And House Speaker Melissa Hortman, DFL, from Brooklyn Park, 53 years old.
And they were there for work? Or
It was a public event, actually, a constituent meet and greet. They were connecting with local business leaders.
So a pretty standard event for lawmakers.
Exactly. And the accounts say the gathering was sort of winding down when this all unfolded.
Okay, so walk us through the sequence. The sources describe it as, well, chillingly calm at first.
That's what makes it so disturbing. A lone gunman, who we now know as Vance Bolter, reportedly just approached them.
Approached them directly.
Yes. Then there was apparently a brief but heated exchange. The reports say heated. And then he just opened fire.
Just like that.
Just like that. The immediate impact was devastating. Senator Hoffman got critical injuries described as multiple gunshot wounds.
Multiple. And Speaker Hortman.
She was also shot. Though initial reports from the scene indicated her injuries were maybe less severe at first glance.
But the news about Senator Hoffman.
Yeah, the tragic news came later that evening, confirmed by multiple sources. Despite all the immediate medical help, Senator John Hoffman succumbed to his injuries.
Just awful. A huge loss reading these reports.
Absolutely. A profound loss, it's described as. Now, Speaker Hortman, thankfully, is reported stable, expected to recover.
That's some relief, at least physically.
Physically, yes. But the sources do make a point of noting the immense emotional and psychological toll this kind of attack obviously takes. Her husband, Mark Hortman, is reportedly by her side.
And there's a detail from the scene, something about an off-duty officer. The sources highlight this.
Yes, incredibly significant, it seems. An off-duty police officer just happened to be at the golf course.
Pure chance.
Appears so. And that officer is specifically credited in the reports with engaging the shooter.
Engaging him, like confronting him.
Exactly. A crucial action. Authorities suggest, based on the reports, it may well have prevented further casualties before the gunman then fled on foot.
Wow. That officer's presence sounds like it made a massive difference.
Absolutely critical, according to these source accounts. Really limited the scope of the tragedy right there at the scene.
Okay, so shifting from the immediate event, let's talk about the suspect. Based on the sources, specifically info from the BCA, who is this individual?
He's been identified as Vance Luther Bolter, age 52. The sources say he's a resident of Green Isle, Minnesota. That's in Sibley County.
Green Isle.
Yeah.
Any other connections mentioned?
Yeah, they also note reported ties he has to Anemia, Minnesota as well.
Okay. What about his background? Criminal history? Anything violent in the past?
Well, the sources state that based on initial checks, he reportedly has no known prior violent criminal record, emphasis on violent. But the material also makes it very clear. Authorities are actively investigating, looking for any signs of maybe escalating extremism or other concerning behavior that just didn't result in convictions before.
Right. Which brings us to motive. Always the central question. The sources seem cautious, saying no definitive official motive yet.
Correct. The official word is still pending on that. But the sources we've looked at, drawing from KARE 11, KSTP, WCCO, FOX 9, the Star Tribune, plus insights attributed to those close to the investigation, they strongly suggest extreme anti-government and anti-establishment views are being looked at as a primary factor.
Okay, strongly suggest. What specific evidence are the sources citing for that? Where are they finding these indications?
The material points pretty extensively to social media posts attributed to Bolter.
His own posts.
His own posts, yes. The reports describe a consistent pattern. aggressive rhetoric, and specifically targeting certain Democratic
Yes,
politicians.
including Hoffman and Hortman by name.
By name, yes, among others, and also targeting broader DFL legislative initiatives.
Are there examples, specific language mentioned in the reports?
Yeah, they do note specific phrases reportedly found in these posts, things like tyranny, government overreach, and even explicit calls for patriot action.
Patriot action. Wow.
Yeah. And the sources also mention investigators are looking into whether he might have left behind a manifesto or other writings.
Okay, this naturally leads to something the sources address directly, the discussion around his political affiliation. It seems like there's been some noise about that.
There has been, and the sources try to clarify. They highlight this as an important distinction. They note that while some reports, specifically mentioning attempts by what they call right-leaning outlets like the Daily Wire,
Okay.
reportedly tried to link him to left-wing extremist groups, the overwhelming evidence found in his online footprint, as presented in our source material, points firmly towards alignment with far-right anti-government ideologies.
So the digital trail points one way, despite attempts to paint it differently.
That's what the compiled sources strongly indicate.
And just to be absolutely crystal clear, what do the sources say about any link, any whatsoever, to mainstream Democratic politics? Registered Democrat, anything like that?
The sources we have reviewed state explicitly. No credible indications in this material that he's a registered Democrat or affiliated with any mainstream Democratic groups. His digital activity, according to these reports, it just indicates radicalization within that anti-government, anti-establishment framework.
Okay. The sources also briefly touch on reactions from some commentators.
Yeah.
Who's mentioned?
Just a couple noted. Jack Brewer on Fox News reportedly called for examining rhetoric across the whole political spectrum.
Examining rhetoric. Yeah.
And Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, is mentioned issuing a clear condemnation of the violence itself.
Right. So after the attack, law enforcement response. Immediate and massive, the sources say.
Oh, yeah. A huge multi-county search operation kicked off right away. State Patrol, BCA, FBI involved.
Federal involvement right off the bat.
Absolutely. Working with local law enforcement across Hennepin, Anoka, and Sibley counties, a wide net.
And public safety measures were part of that.
Yeah.
A shelter in place.
Immediately. The sources report a shelter-in-place order went out quickly for Champlin, Brooklyn Park, even parts of Maple Grove and Eagan.
Telling people to lock down.
Exactly. Stay indoors, lock doors, report anything suspicious. Standard procedure in these situations, but obviously alarming.
What kind of resources are being used in the search? Do the reports detail that?
They do mention drones, K-9 units, tactical teams, just highlighting the intensity and the breadth of this manhunt.
And as of, well, today, Monday, June 16th, what's the status according to the material we have?
Vance Luther Bolter remains at large, still out there.
Which means there's still a significant public danger.
Definitely. The reports stress he is considered armed and extremely dangerous. The public warning is stark. Do not approach him. Call 911 immediately if seen.
And this ongoing search, the sources note, is obviously causing a lot of anxiety across the state. Continuous news updates.
Understandably. Heightened anxiety is mentioned. Governor Tim Walz, his response is noted too.
What did he say?
The material mentions him pledging all available state resources to the search and also issuing calls for unity and calm during this really tense time.
Okay. Let's pull back a bit now and look at the broader implications according to the sources. How is this event being framed beyond just the immediate crime?
The sources universally describe it as sending shockwaves, not just a Minnesota story. It's reverberated nationally, raising huge concerns.
And specifically, the sources seem to connect this directly to political polarization.
They draw a very stark line, presenting this incident as a kind of horrifying illustration of the dangerous rise of polarization and violent extremism in the U.S.
They're really linking the political climate to this.
The reports contain analysis suggesting exactly that the increasingly vitriolic rhetoric in politics is seen as directly contributing to acts of violence like this one. There's a perceived connection there in the analysis.
So it's not just about this one act, but a symptom of something larger, according to these perspectives.
That's the framing. The material includes comments, for instance, from Senator Amy Klobuchar. She's quoted expressing profound sorrow, but also explicitly emphasizing the critical need to, quote, curb political violence.
Curbing political violence.
Yeah.
That leads to another immediate discussion the sources highlight, lawmaker safety.
Huge issue now. The sources report the attack prompted urgent calls for increased security, especially for state and local politicians.
Why especially them?
Well, the material notes, they're often just far more accessible to the public than, say, federal officials in D.C. Makes their security a really challenging and now obviously critical issue.
And the Minnesota legislature itself, how have they responded directly?
The sources note they've suspended non-essential activities. A pause, basically.
Out of respect.
Yes, specifically to mourn Senator Hoffman and also to show support for Speaker Hortman as she recovers.
It feels important, amidst all this, to remember the individuals targeted, based on how the sources describe them. Senator John Hoffman.
Yeah, he's described across the sources as just a beloved figure, known for being quieter maybe, but highly effective in his advocacy.
Any specific areas mentioned?
A champion for education, and particularly for disability rights. He was vice chair of the Higher Education Committee. The material really emphasizes his passing leaves a significant void.
And Speaker Melissa Hortman.
She's described in the reports as a really powerful force in the House, leading the DFL majority there. Her recovery is being watched very closely, kind of seen in the sources as a symbol of resilience for the legislature and for Minnesota.
The sources also try to put this into some historical context, right? What parallels are drawn and what makes it stand out?
They do mention other incidents, things like the shooting of Congresswoman Gabby Giffords back in 2011, or the January 6th Capitol insurrection when discussing political violence generally.
Okay, those are reference points.
Right. But the sources make a specific point of highlighting that direct assassinations of sitting state lawmakers are exceedingly rare in American history.
So, why political violence tragically exists? This specific targeting of a state legislator in this way. It's noted as unusual, particularly alarming.
Precisely. The sources underscore that rarity. That's part of what makes this so chilling, according to the reports. And the national media coverage mentioned, NY Post, Wall Street Journal, CNN, it's noted as reflecting deep concern over what they're calling an abomination.
An abomination. Strong word.
Very.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the core, according to all these sources, it remains this immense tragedy, the loss of Senator Hoffman, the wounding of Speaker Hortman, and it's seen not just as a crime against individuals, but as the sources put it, really a direct attack on democratic institutions themselves.
Absolutely. And as we've gone through the source material, it's clear this incident is being framed not just as a terrible event, but as, and this phrase comes up in the analysis we reviewed, a stark call for de-escalation of rhetoric, a renewed commitment to peaceful political engagement, and a concerted effort to address the roots of extremism in America.
That phrase, de-escalation of rhetoric, addressing the roots of extremism, especially when combined with what the sources highlight about the perceived link between the suspect's online language and this real-world violence. It really leaves you with something significant to think about.
It does.
As you, the listener, hear these details and the context the sources provide, how might understanding this specific tragedy influence how you engage with political discourse? Online, offline, wherever. It's a powerful question the material itself seems to raise for all of us.